Go a Viking on Viking Hot Takes. And we don't. Great. Shite. All right, everybody, it's Dave here again, and we're obviously having the same issues we had on Monday. However, let me try to fix that. There are supposedly ways that we can do this, and maybe... Nope, that didn't work. Hold on.
Oh, is this better?
Hey, yes.
Oh, hey.
Hey,
I'm Eric.
Hold on.
That's all we needed.
Yeah.
Let's see. Guess two.
We literally flipped. There we go.
We literally flipped.
There's one.
And we got Flip.
Hey!
Hey! No, don't do that, Flip. No, you are.
No.
Ah, crap. How is he? Hold on.
But you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Hold on. Flip, give me a second. We'll get you. Let's change you to guess three. See what happens.
I thought Flip was maybe faking you out.
Now try me, Flip. No, you're still muted. Damn. All right. We're going to do something a little different. We got Eric.
Yeah.
We obviously got people listening. Let's go. Let's try. Boom, 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 boom. Where is it? I want to add Flip.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh.
We got volume for both of you. Woohoo! Hey,
Look at that.
I knew we'd work it out. And
Look at that human to geek interface working on the fly.
hey, I was telling Eric, I spent over half of yesterday on the phone with the owners of ECAM, and we're discussing. There is an issue, obviously. Mm-hmm. They are working diligently to get it fixed. However, we tried to do some workarounds, which I just did, and now everybody can hear, which means it's time for Vikings Hot Take. Viking Hot Take. Flip, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Dave. Eric, it's great to see you. Dan in the comments, thank you for the birthday wishes. We already got hot takes flying in the comments, but hey, it's the post-draft show, y'all. And the Vikings welcomed 11 new players, tied for the most during the NFL draft. And you know what? They signed 11 more undrafted free agents, so 22 players total. But let's be honest, we only got 20 minutes. So if you're looking for some deep thoughts on Wop Filer, you're going to have to look elsewhere. It's time for the fast-moving Minnesota Vikings talk show. We've got Eric Thompson from Daily Norseman. We've got me, Flip Mazzi, from Clown in the Pocket. And we've got the fans commenting already. So buckle up. Let's go. Eric, we've got a fun rookie class, man.
Yeah, I think the technical difficulties were probably caused by your hat. You're wearing the Twins hat. That has to be the explanation. It must have thought we were in extra innings and it screwed up. So, yeah, this is now we have real players. It isn't hypothetical players. It isn't where might they go. It's where they went. This is the fun part. We get to talk about our new guys. They have numbers. They're going to be in purple. This is the meat and potatoes of the offseason. This is what's going to keep us going until that schedule release and the actual games in training camp in August. So this is a really fun time of year.
It's real fun. This is one of the only review draft shows that Climb the Pocket has had on YouTube. So I'm really excited for it. Dave, let's get the 20 minutes on the clock.
Will do. I have to reload it for some silly reason. And yes. Boom.
All right.
There we
and
go.
so,
Take it down.
yeah, let's go. Eric, we're going to start off hot. For all the Vikings picks, there was one that got way more attention than the rest. The quarterback, Kellen Mond. And now fans are saying things like life after Kirk. Everyone agrees Mond is a developmental prospect. But, you know, the Vikings have stated Kirk is the starter. I believe them. My question is, if we're a couple of years away from seeing Kellen Mond on Sunday, Will Kirk Cousins be a good mentor for the kid?
Well, my definitive answer right away is maybe. I mean, I think Kirk is a politician through and through. I mean, he will always say the right thing. So in public, like, if he gets asked about Kellen Mond, he's always going to say the right thing in regards. He's going to say he's helping him out and he's mentoring Mond and he's doing whatever he can to help the team, blah, 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 blah. But he's never really had this role in the NFL of mentoring. I mean, if you think, the mentor thing between, the quarterbacks, maybe in my opinion, gets a little overblown. But if you think about Washington, he was the second guy drafted in his own draft class in Washington. RG3 was the guy, and he just happened to take over after RG3 got hurt. And the last couple of years of backups here in Minnesota, it's not like Sean Mannion was the next guy in waiting. He was just the guy just break glass in case of emergency. So this is the first time in his NFL career that I think he's really had this kind of opportunity. But again, I really think this whole mentor thing is a little bit overblown, because when a quarterback succeeds, he's always going to thank the guy that was in front of him. Like Patrick Mahomes thanks Alex Smith for his development that first year. And I do think that's important.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Mond ends up being the quarterback of the future, it's going to be on his own merit. It's going to be in how the Vikings coach his development, not how Kirk Cousins did or what he did or didn't do. So I think he'll be okay. Again, I think he'll say, I don't think it's going to be a quarterback controversy where he's giving him the cold shoulder like Favre did with Aaron Rodgers. But of course, that turned out pretty good too. So but that, I think, it had a lot more to do with Rodgers being very good. So this is going to be up to Mond and the coaching staff to have the development, because like you said, Cousins is definitely the quarterback this year and probably next year. But if Mond can make those steps, then the Vikings fans can start finally thinking about life after Cousins.
Yeah, I think you brought up the two most interesting examples, which is Alex Smith and Brett Favre. And in both cases, eventually there's going to be a day on the practice field where Mond's out there and Kirk's going to be like, whoa, this guy just might be better than me. And the question is, does he get scared or does he embrace it? With Alex Smith, he turned around his career when he chose to take the backseat to Pat Mahomes. And now Pat Mahomes is thanking him for helping him win a Super Bowl for Kansas City, Kansas City's first Super Bowl ever. Alex Smith, when he retired,
second Super Bowl. The first one was over a team.
We
that
don't
were pretty
talk
familiar.
about the first one
in 50 years, but yes,
we don't talk about the first one. But Alex Smith retired and he got this grand reception, and he was 32 when somebody came for his job. Kirk Cousins is 32 right now, so Kirk, I think it's going to come to a head sooner rather than later. And I do think that it translates to Kellen Mond. I think he'll try to help the kid out. And I hope that the two of them at least develop a good relationship. I hope it's not the Favre versus Rodgers fiasco that they had in Green Bay, even though it ends up working out in the end. Kirk Cousins, this is a chance to, kind of redefine his career.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we have examples as recently as this past season too. You take the Carson Wentz route; they drafted a quarterback and he basically disintegrated. Or you do the Aaron Rodgers route in 2020; they draft a quarterback and he basically gives a middle finger to the rest of the entire NFL. So it'll be interesting. I think the draft pick, it's more interesting to see how it affects Cousins rather than Mond, because I don't think we're going to see Mond, barring an injury to Cousins, for a couple of years. So So that one is definitely the most talked about draft pick. My first question for you is, we don't see Mond making a whole lot of impact right away. Which draft pick of the 2021 draft class do you think will have the most immediate impact for the Vikings?
Yeah, it's really easy to just say Darisaw. I want to hear what the fans in the comments are going to say about this. And I want to know what they think about Kirk Cousins as a mentor, just in general. But for this question, immediate impact, we have to talk about the time frame. So if you're just looking at this team on paper before the draft, it's either Christian Darisaw or the guard Wyatt Davis. But when we go to the actual games played on Sunday, Riley Reiff was a solid left tackle in 2020, arguably the best offensive lineman on the team. And Wyatt Davis is hopefully going to be replacing 16 games of Dakota Dozier. So it's more of a stretch to say that Davis will start. He's got to develop. But even if he plays like 8 games of average starter level guard play is a huge upgrade over Dakota Dozier's 2020. So fingers crossed, we have 2 rookie starters on the offensive line midway through the 2021 season. And Wyatt Davis, it sounds too good to be true, Eric. I almost don't want to talk about the Vikings offensive line anymore because I'm just so nervous. Do we really have 2 new starters?
Right. I mean, but I am right with you. I mean, you would think it better be Darrisaw because that's what they brought him in for. I mean, if he isn't a major piece of the offensive line in 2021, then it was a bad pick. I mean, unless, or barring injury, knock on wood here. But like asking him to be as good as Riley Reif, that's a big ask because Reif was very good last year. He was one of the 2 reliable pieces of the offensive line they had last year. But if Darrisaw can be even league average out of the gate, I think that'll make a big impact. But I'm with you in that same vein. There's a chance Wyatt Davis could make the most impact just because that room for improvement at guard is so vast. The bar to clear is so low. And again, we're not asking this. I mean, I feel like I've said this in every podcast, every article, and everything for the last 3 or 4 years. The Vikings offensive line, the goal is not to be the 90s Cowboys. We're not going to be the best offensive line in the league. The goal is to be actively not terrible. And that can open up so much of this offense. And that's the hope with Darrisaw, the D&D, I haven't been this excited about D&D since 12-sided die, but it's like it has to be like that it has to be the offensive line. I think that's there's players elsewhere, that we'll get to, I think, later in our conversation that could make an impact. But at least with Darrisaw, he has to make some sort of impact, and you hope that Davis can beat out Cole. Maybe Mason Cole's the guy. That's fine. Just get me anyone but Dozier. Get me an improvement. Let's get an offensive line that isn't hindering the offense every single game, and let's see what they can do.
Yeah. But really, no Mason Cole. Really, Wyatt Davis.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. All right, Eric, last episode you were talking about all the trades Rick was going to make. He barely made any.
I know. The under hit. I had no idea. I thought that I saw what I said at 3.5 for the day 3.
3.5, and it was one trade down. Yeah. He never traded back up. And, deep in the draft, he didn't make a single 7th round pick. So very
upset
interesting.
Of the century right there. Yeah, 0 7th round picks from Rick Spielman. That's like that's like winning the lottery 6 times in a row.
Yeah, but he did take those 6 players in rounds 4 through 6 on day 3. Yep. So which one of those guys was your favorite pick?
I think I got to go with Ihmir Smith-Marsette, that wide receiver out of Iowa. The more I've kind of looked into him since the Vikings drafted him, the more I think he can maybe, immediately compete, at least, be in the rotation for that 3rd wide receiver spot. I think there's a lot of overlap between Iowa Hawkeyes fans and that are also, that if Iowa's your college team, there's a pretty good chance that the Vikings are your pro team. And every Iowa fan that follows me on Twitter was ecstatic about getting Smith-Marsette, especially in the 5th round. And it sounds like, the more I look into it, his stats definitely don't jump off the page, but it's also a Iowa wide receiver that just doesn't happen under Kirk Ferentz. And I mean, it just seems like he was kind of criminally underused in that offense because the last time a Iowa wide receiver was drafted period, was 9 years ago. And Smith-Marsette is the highest drafted under Kirk Ferentz. They haven't been like basically, if you're going by draft round, yeah. I mean, that's crazy to think a Big Ten wide receiver, out of a major program like that hasn't had a wide receiver come out. But I mean, it's not just the history of Iowa, and maybe he wasn't used as much. But the film I watched really does jump off the screen. I think he can stretch the field and be a really good complement to Jefferson and Thielen. And at the very least, I think he could be maybe the first reliable kickoff returner the Vikings have had since Cordell Patterson left. So I think that's the one I'm most intrigued by. And day 3, there are no guarantees, but I think I would be surprised if he doesn't have some sort of impact on the team right out of the gate. So which one? Yeah. What was your favorite one?
I mean, I like it when we disagree. It's a better show, but I just can't. I can't disagree here. There was a huge variance on this guy, but you look at all the reasons he fell. It was quarterback, it was scheme, right. It was all it was the injuries that led to like not the best workout. but he jumps out when you watch the film. There were some off-field issues. I think if you Google Iowa DUI right now, Smith Marset will come up, and then Riley Reif's younger brother, who was also an Iowa defensive tackle, will come up. So hard life for the Reifs right now. I don't even know how I stumbled across that. But regardless, Amir Smith Marset in the return game as a deep threat. It's just really fun. Give this guy a competent quarterback and let's roll with him. Next question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's our favorite from D3, and I'm going to go back to opening up over the whole weekend. Out of the 11 picks, who was your least favorite pick of the weekend and why?
Yeah, so I really liked the Vikings draft. I loved their process, just the trade down, the resilience to stay and not trade back up. But some of the players just didn't jump out at me for where they drafted them. Felt a little too formulaic at times. My least two favorite picks. Let me frame this with the phrase deja vu. So first, Kene Nwangu. I'm cheering hard for this kid. He's really excited. But man, deja vu. And I don't mean it in a good way. I mean, we just drafted a mid-round running back 2 years ago in Alex Madison. And that guy, even though he looks solid on Sundays sometimes, he never sees the field. So I get that they want to replace Mike Boone. I get that they wanted a returner, but not in the 4th round. And this guy, I don't see how he's going to get on the field other than, 4 kick returns a game. The other pick I really hate is the Surratt pick, Chaz Surratt. Again, great profile, good prospect. I don't love his age, 24 years old, and purely a developmental linebacker with only 2 years of experience. Again, yes, they needed depth after Eric Wilson left, but again, deja vu. You just drafted Troy Dye. So I don't think you get to draft Surratt and Dye in back-to-back drafts. It's just really lame for me. And when I know there are some other positions they should have drafted instead.
Yeah, I mean, man, we're on a roll because I had in my notes. I mean, I have to I wish I could make. Well, I guess okay. I hated drafting a punter in the 5th round. I can technically say that, right? Because we've sworn off drafting punters. This one happens to be also a tight end, so I guess we're gonna let that slide. But yeah, but I'm with you on the Surratt pick. It was just a curious pick to me. Like I just didn't understand that early. I mean, I get the process of getting that next Eric Wilson, and his upside is intriguing, and he's a project, and yes, he started out at quarterback.
Yeah.
But the tape I've watched on him, he's definitely a raw prospect. He put up some numbers in North Carolina. He was all ACC defense this year. He had a lot of tackles, but he's a very good athlete that seems to have a good nose for the ball, but he's also very small for a linebacker, and he got washed out of a lot of running plays. And it just seems like, if that sounds familiar, it's Eric Wilson. Except they replaced Eric Wilson with a less polished Eric Wilson. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, and Dye is also right there and also has the same struggle.
Yeah,
so,
he fits the bill too. Oh, and it's like they have a type.
Yeah.
And hopefully it doesn't make a huge difference. Yes, it's nice to have more linebackers in there because the depth definitely falls off after Barr and Kendricks. But just taking him that early in the 3rd round, it was a curious pick for me. And it's for having such an unknown. And I'm sure he'll come in and contribute on special teams. He'll probably make the roster. I think only one 4th round or less pick of the Vikings since under Spielman has ever not made the roster. So he'll be involved. It seems like he's at least a year or 2 away of being an actual impact player. And to take someone like that in the 3rd round, again, it's a need position. I just don't like where they went with that position.
Yeah. God forbid they draft 2 receivers instead of giving Mike Zimmer developmental linebacker in every draft. But hey, we only got 5 minutes. Man, I could talk about this for a lot longer than 5 minutes, but we only got 5. Eric, schedule release, 6 days away. Vikings fans, we're vaccinated. We're about to start planning travel all over the U.S. come this fall. Eric, where are you booking that flight, man? What game or games are you looking to attend in 2021?
Well, You got to call me Notorious B.I.G. because I'm going back to Cali. Like I have to. Like that. I mean, there are two circle. Like as soon as the 17th game was verified that it's going to be the Chargers. Again, we don't know when they're going to play, but the Chargers
Right.
game, it's not like the weather's going to be bad in LA sometime this fall. So that's probably my top pick. My wife and I have already talked about it. As soon as that schedule comes out, we're going to start looking at tickets and stuff like that. But there's another one now, thanks to the draft. That's kind of, it's also in the same state. There's a guy, this Trey Lance fellow. He's drafted by North Dakota State. He
Oh,
might be
wow.
playing this year. He plays for the San Francisco 49ers now, and the Vikings just so happen to be visiting San Francisco this year. So that might be another one I might have to circle. I mean, maybe
California love.
if the schedule God smile on me, they'll go there back-to-back weekends, and I can just stay out in California for a week, like in December. That sounds like great to me. I'll work from out there or something like that. But of course, those are the top two road games I think for me for sure. I'm sure I'll go to at least a couple home games. I always try to make it to, in between 2 and 4 home games each year because I'm right here in the Twin Cities. And I think the one I'm most interested in there is the Seattle game. They're actually coming to Minnesota. Like we'll get to see it in person. Although maybe with how Russell Wilson does against the Vikings, maybe I'll just go to the Detroit game to give myself better odds of actually watching a win there. But yeah, the California games are definitely the ones I have. I got to go visit you. I got to go visit our guy Luke Braun.
Yeah,
I got to I got to get out to that West Coast. How about you?
Yeah.
Which ones are you looking for?
Well, LA just makes too much sense. A brand new stadium, SoFi Stadium, if you're coming down to Los Angeles. And I was going to throw out Arizona, but it really doesn't compare to any of the two teams you mentioned for the road. But man, I think the right answer is Minneapolis. I mean, we have two classes of draft picks that have never played in front of the Vikings home crowd, two classes of free agents. You look at the depth chart, 50% of the Viking starters have never played in front of a full home crowd at US Bank Stadium. Nuts. So I want to be there opening day, regardless of who they play, with Justin Jefferson, Cameron Dantzler, Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, Christian Darrisaw, Patrick Peterson, all the rest of them, just to hear the fans. I want to be one of those fans. It's going to be great. And we know the production in that value, they turn it up too with the fireworks and the lights. So I think it's got to be a home game.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, that first goal chant is just going to be, with a packed stadium, that is just going to give me chills. Absolutely. That's a great point. All right, so we got what? We're under 2 minutes left. Okay, we're going to go rapid fire here. I'll go fast. So what part of the team was most improved by the draft over the weekend?
All right. Dan Henneman, all my boys in the comments, y'all just want me to say offensive line. I'm not going to say offensive line because, I kind of like Rashad Hill, and I don't know if Wyatt Davis is going to win the guard spot quite yet. So if you ask me on May 6th, we're going to end this show where it started. The most improved position on the Minnesota Vikings is backup quarterback. Sean Mannion to Kellen Mond is a massive long-term upgrade, and I called it. You called it on the draft preview show. We now have a backup with upside. Even if he doesn't start, they could trade him in a few years. Even if he doesn't develop, the Vikings have more flexibility at the most important position in football. So yeah, you know what? I think Kirk probably plays 2 more years in Minnesota. He'll have to earn his next contract in 2022. He's certainly capable of that. But man, the Vikings escaped some huge risks with Sean Mannion as a backup. Kellen Mond is the high variance quarterback you need when you have a veteran starter, upgraded backup quarterback, and I love it.
Yeah, and for me, I got 20 seconds left. I think I'm going to go generically and say depth improved. Like there are a lot of answers. The question marks that the Vikings had in 2021, there's still a few, but now they don't have exclamation points after that question mark. It isn't, oh my gosh, what are they going to do if this guy goes down? There are some answers in place now for the key backup positions, especially quarterback, safety, linebacker, defensive tackle. Now there is some depth. And it won't be the end of the world if people get injured this year like it was last year. So, and that's it. We're at the buzzer. We did it.
That is the show, the draft review show. Viking hot takes. Man, Eric, we had an entire draft and none of these cats is wearing a number in the single digits. But
I know we talked. We had a whole question about it last time before the draft. Who's going to do this? No, they all bailed on it. All traditional.
Yeah. But hey, they're still playing for the purple, so we're going to root for them. Any final thoughts, Eric?
No, just we're excited to see them in action and hopefully in person. I mean, that all the talk about being at a stadium just got me absolutely fired up. It's going to be goosebumps. It's been way too long since live sporting events, especially NFL football. Let's get to it. I'm not going to wish the summer away, especially in Minnesota, but let's get to that fall and have get some NFL football back in our lives.
Well said. Thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, we're going to keep on coming out with some shows. So, Skol Vikes.
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.